Welcome back to Trackside. A good crowd lining the 3.2-kilometre Adelaide street circuit as we get set for round one of the Century Batteries Australian GT Production Car Championship. But there's been some dramas. Grant Denyer is in pit lane.
Well, Grant Kenny, we know you're from warm, sunny Queensland, mate, but that's a little bit too warm for you. What was the deal there?
Yeah, very warm. The car stopped coming down the back straight, and I was just coasting around the corner to get it out of the way, and it spun. So obviously something dumped out of the engine on the road under the tyres. Went to start it to get off the driving line, which is right where I was, and there was an explosion under the bonnet, and next minute she's all on fire, and that was it.
You may have heard us mention the term GT performance, and you're probably sitting at home thinking, well, just what does that all mean? This year the production cars have expanded even more with the creation of the GT performance category. This is what we've come to know in previous years as GTP classes A and B. The new GT performance category, well, it's a showcase of production car racing with Mitsubishi Evo 6s, Commodore GTS HSVs, Subaru WRX STIs making up the bulk of the field, and you'll be able to catch all of the action throughout the year right here on Trackside. So without any further ado, let's go to Grant Denyer in pit lane with the pole sitter for our first ever GT performance race.
Well, Pilates is a name synonymous with upper-level management in Ford, but driving a Holden this weekend is a Pilates, and he's the man on pole in GT production. Phil Pilates, no relation, but you're driving one of those beautiful HSV 300-kilowatt machines. Mate, well done. Where have you sprung from?
Out of a hat, apparently. I raced Formula Ford going back 7 years ago in Europe, and I won the British Formula Ford 1600 Championship. And as well as that, we won the World Cup for Australia with Craig Lowndes and Russell Ingall. And after that time, finances basically restricted me, and I took a forced sabbatical and kept working on it, and 7 years later, here I am.
Michael Brock carries one of our two trackside onboard cameras for all of this weekend's action. The other one, Tim Lay, in the fabulous VW Beetle. We'll talk more about this new introduction during the course of this afternoon's races. Philip Pilates on pole from Mark King. A good performance by the HSV driver over the defending champion.
Back to position 9, Graham Alexander with Bob Pearson in the Mazda RX-7 alongside. Then Gazard Brock, Brett Peters, the Subaru STI, Scotty Jacob, Craig Dottis and Jim Stewart.
For the back, Anton Metchler will start from grid position 18. Trevor Haynes and Dennis Gilbert, 21 and 22. And Ross Palmer from position 24.
Fastest Class B qualifier was Nathan Thomas. Then we've got Nathan Pilkington in the Mitsubishi FTO V6, second fastest, I should say, from Tim Lay in the Volkswagen.
Just a reminder too, Grant Kenny, a non-starter in this one after that fire during the course of qualifying. David Ratcliffe from position 34. Further back in the field, Sue Hughes from 38 and Peter Boylan from position 40.
Big field of 40 cars here for the Clipsal 500 at Adelaide. Round one of an 8-round championship. This is a 12-lap race set to start.
Great start by the Holden, so Pilates gets away smartly, but the defending champion, Mark King, gets all four wheels. The power from the four-wheel drive getting to the ground very nicely, and the Mitsubishi will lead the field through turn one. Yes. Oh, sideways from King.
Plenty of action. Philip Pilates right on his tail. It's Evo, Commodore Evo. Now we're riding with Michael Brock and also an Evo 5. Chasing Bob Pearson, and you can see how busy it is. A big field of 40 cars here in Adelaide.
Hard under brakes. And I tell you what, look at the action going on here. Oh. Gazard in all sorts of trouble. Oh, boy.
All sorts of cars, all sorts of configurations, from front-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, turbocharged.
Sideways from Nathan Thomas, I think that was, in the Honda Integra.
Now this is Tim Lay in the fabulous new Beetle RSI V6, brand new car to Australia. Two of them racing this weekend, one driven by Matt Coleman. And this is a full VW manufacturer's effort in GTP this year.
It's an impressive effort too, Craig. They've turned up here and gotten right into the spirit of GTP competition. A big marquee and transporter. Craig Lowndes also joining us for all of this afternoon's action. And Craig, pretty tidy start so far, but gee, there's been a few moments in the early stages.
Well, it's been a great start, and as you've mentioned, there's so many different configurations of these cars. The four-wheel drive just get off the line so quick.
Michael Brock now in his Evo 5, the car that finished second in last year's Showroom Showdown at Mount Panorama Bathurst. Brock, very well known in Adelaide corporate circles as a real estate developer. Scotty Jacob on the inside. I tell you what, there's plenty of cars around him too, Craig. They're muscling left and right.
Well, definitely, and as you can see, that little red light on the dash there, that's his shift light. So every time that glows, he's just got to pull another gear, and he's trying to make his way up through the field. It's a beautiful sight. This circuit is absolutely awesome to drive around.
Mark King in the Delphi Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 6 is leading the way. The HSV GTS in the hands of our pole sitter, Philip Pilates. The field stream across the start-finish line. This is a tough part of the track through that chicane. They carry a lot of speed through there.
Well, it is, and as you can see, they're using the curbs and some of, as you just over there, the four wheels straight over it. It's very quick, very fast, and the car has got to be very supple to be able to do that.
Bob Hughes up to third in his Evo 6, a brand new Evo 6 compared to King's Evo 5. Phil Kirkham also doing well, running fourth in the Mazda RX-7. Then Peter Floyd in the second of the HSV 300 kilowatt cars.
Just caught a quick glimpse of Ed Aiken as well on a charge there in the background. The predominantly black car, another of the HSV GTS Commodores, the by accessory entry.
Yeah, there's in fact I think 4 of them running this weekend. Rusty, a great story about Peter Floyd. He actually blew the engine in his car in qualifying, went down to the local Holden dealer, had to buy another engine but take the whole car as part of the deal. It cost him $100,000 for a brand new. The car now coming through, the second car on screen, a brand new 300 kilowatt car, and he told his wife Louise he was just going down to the local Holden dealer to pick up a spare part. So they did an engine change and he went out and started 5th in this race, which is a tremendous.
Look at him, he's sideways under brakes here. Big brake lock-up. He was forced to play defensive there, Craig. Aiken is all over the back of him.
Well, he was. This is the beauty of this category. There's so many different configurations. The Commodores, as you see, are rear-wheel drive, probably a lot of horsepower. We'll get a spinner here.
Barry Morecambe in the car that Ross Dillon campaigned last season. Barry making the switch as well. He was mounted in a Mazda RX-7 last year. Now with V8 Commodore power and a lot of work to do.
Back with Michael Brock, I think that's Peter Gazzard in the Scots of Mount Gambier STI. No, in fact, it's Brett Peters just ahead of him, having his first drive in GDP for a number of years. A good comparison there between the Evo 5 and the STI.
Well, look at this, Craig.
Well, I don't know whether actually there's any contact there, or I'm not sure. It's sort of, you don't get a good view of it, but definitely there's some action going on there. And it's actually, that's probably very lucky. It's the slowest point of the track.
Anton Metzler, Dennis Gilbert, two that came in there, maybe got a touch-up from Dr. Anton. This is our Class B leader, Nathan Thomas in the Honda Integra Type R that Peter Boylan drove last year. And Nathan's been able to move through from the 4-cylinder ranks, Class E, into this class with the help of Quirk's refrigeration of Peter Boylan. He's done a great job, put it on pole and leading the class.
Yeah, he's a real standout, particularly in the baby car class in recent years, but has made the step up superbly. Good to see Peter Boylan continuing this support through Quirk's refrigeration.
Yeah, good new number of cars into Class B this year. We talked about the Pilkington Mitsubishi FTO, the new Volkswagens, the new Toyota Celica as well, also in Class B. So quite an interesting year as far as the sports touring class is concerned.
Bob Hughes even closer now to Pilates. This is the battle for second position. Just a little further up the road there, you can see Mark King, our race leader. So the Mitsubishis, first and third, the Commodore, the meat in the sandwich.
I guess no real surprise, Craig, to see the four-wheel drive turbocharged Evo 5s quick around here.
Well, around that section we're just viewing, definitely the four-wheel drives will probably have an advantage over, say, a rear-wheel drive. These longer straights, this section, as you see this in-car now, probably where the V8s would now probably stretch their legs over the other 4 cylinders.
So riding with Tim Lade, chasing his teammate Matty Coleman in the 2.8-litre V6.
Oh, this wins a match up in front of him there.
Trying to pick up that's Don Pulver in the Nissan 200SX.
There's a lot of damage to the back of that car there.
And I think that was Lade coming back onto the track.
He may have quite wisely just run up the off-road there just to avoid whatever was happening out of sight.
So it looks like there's plenty of damage to the rear end of oh dear.
A lot of damage.
Get a brand new car, saw it for the first time last
Now,
year.
change of position up in front here. Look at this. King and Pilates going head-to-head. And Bob Hughes is right there with them. Gee, I tell you, King had that for the briefest of moments and took it back off Pilates.
Just to give you an idea of the heat that's generated from the front of these cars, Sue. Great vision there of the brakes red hot. This is the replay of the Don Pulver incident. Now, it looks like it was Alan Shepherd or Len Cave. Len Cave in the BMW.
Back end into the wall there. Back aboard with Tim Lade. This is the run down to the final turn, which brings them onto the start-finish straight. And he's gone off. Tim Lade's gone off in the V-dub. Oh!
And a big hit too for the new RSI Beetle. I don't know what's happened there. They have been suffering some brake problems with the car in practice and qualifying, so that could well be the problem.
Now Pilates has another look down the inside on Mark King. Now watch for the switchback here from Mark King. Can he do it?
Well, I don't know. This is actually interesting here. It's a little bit of a drag race out of this corner. For us, it's a first gear, so it's very, very slow. Philip's been able to pull it off. As you mentioned before, you see the red discs glowing on the GTS. He's really, really working this car.
Fabulous car. Similar car won the 3-hour showroom showdown in the hands of Ed Aitken at Mount Panorama last year. Polides new to GTP. It's his first race since 1993. Look at Mark King.
And Bob Hughes going at it now, so the battle for second really raging. I wondered if King may have missed a gear there or something. He dropped off the pace momentarily. Hughes got by him, and then like a slingshot, King came back past.
It almost looks like he's struggling now for straight line speed.
Into this first chicane. Look at King bouncing it off the curbs, and Hughes is all over the back of him trying to find a way past. This is Tim Lay out of the car and A-OK, but the damage to the VW.
Very disappointing for those guys to come here with a brand new car, probably wanting a good showing for them, and to end up like that is very, very disappointing for driver and team owners.
So Hughes now through to second. Polides and HSV still leading. King back to third. Phil Kirkham in the Mazda RX-7 further back in fourth. But we talked about Phil Polides, his first race since 1993. As we look at a replay of Hughes going through and passing the current Australian GT production car champion Mark King.
Seemed to set it up maybe out of that previous corner, Craig, and snap down the inside.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, obviously, these cars are very similar in specs, but Hughes been able to get past him there quite comfortably in a straight line. I don't know whether King is struggling a little bit.
Gary Dean in the Subaru, Graham Alexander, the Evo 5.
That was almost going to come to tears there. Then they're rubbing guards too.
They're still arguing over it too. Alexander goes through.
Looking for a run down the inside there, but Alexander covered it.
Alexander, a wrecker from Geelong. Gary Dean comes from Brisbane, runs a very successful...
Oh, Scotty Jacob! That's Scotty Jacob. He's rolled the car over.
Gee, I tell you what, that's been a shocker of a weekend for the Kenny Jacob team.
Keep in mind that in qualifying, Grant Kenny suffered a fairly heavy fire under the bonnet of his car. This is the sister car.
Red flag. So let's have a look at the replay.
Oh, gee, he carried a lot of speed into there, didn't he?
Anton Metchler does everything he possibly can to keep out of the way. But hard to pick that one up, Craig. Actually, what triggered that? It just looked like he ran wide and got caught on the ripple strip, so that was it.
Yeah, I think he actually might have hit the ripple strip going into the previous corner. As you saw, he was right up on two wheels there, and just unfortunately just couldn't get past that tyre wall. The tyre wall was virtually spatting back out on his roof.
He's okay.
Yeah, good to see him out of the car. Tough weekend for he and teammate Grant Kenny. The race has been red flagged. Philip Polides confirmed as the winner ahead of Bob Hughes. Mark King, the defending champion, finishes in third position just ahead of Phil Kirkham, Ed Aitken, Gary Dean, Brett Peters and Bob Pearson rounds out the top 8.
I'm gonna get you, baby.
Welcome back to Trackside. The streets of Adelaide well and truly alive as we get set for the second race in the opening round of the Century Batteries Australian GT Production Car Championship. Matty Coleman carrying one of our 2 Trackside onboard cameras. His teammate Tim Lay had a big crash in race 1. Michael Brock will carry the other onboard camera. Now, Philip Polides, the former British Formula Ford champion, took out the opener. Can he do it again in race 2?
Mark King back in third, Phil Kirkham fourth. At the back of the field, Michael Brock, position 9 from Bob Pearson. Young Adelaide guy Craig Donna's also doing well in position 11 in his HSV 300 kilowatt car.
Young guy to keep an eye out for, Nathan Thomas in the Honda Integra Type R. He was a real shining light in race 1 and took out things in Class B. We'll see how he goes in this one.
Alan Chevitt in the Honda Integra, also Matt Coleman further back. Mike Fitzgerald, David Ratcliffe in the Celica for the first time this year. Sue Hughes and Peter Boylan.
Now, there are a couple of non-starters in this one. Scotty Jacob, who you'll see there on the grid, had a big rollover in the first race. His teammate Grant Kenny is also out of this one as we get set to go racing. In the second one, Polides to the left-hand side of your screen there in the HSV GTS. Away we go. He gets a brilliant start. Look at King snapping to the inside in the Mitsubishi.
Looks like Hughes will lead them, though. Bob Hughes, as this big field of 40 cars comes down to turn 1 for the first time. Alexander sideways.
He gathers it all up. Look at Kirkham right over the curb. Gee, they're all going wide here too. Gilbert's had a spin in the background by the looks of it.
Metchler was in the kitty. They're all having a go at it. Dennis Gilbert, Victorian real estate man, cranks it up. Oh, Thomas is slow away now. He was the pole sitter in Class B. So problems for him off the start line.
Oh, Coleman gives them a nudge and a couple of them have gone around there. Oh!
Plenty of action in the new VW Beetle RSI. 3 of them involved. In fact, Peter Floyd in the middle.
Peter Boylan too, by the looks of things, in the BMW. So those guys getting the short back and side stream and the field stream around the back of the circuit. And it's Bob Hughes who leads the way from the defending champion, Mark King. Now, Polides has dropped back a couple of car lengths. Craig Lowndes joins us in the commentary box, and I know your dad has been working very closely with him on that particular car, but they have had some brake dramas.
Well, they have. I think they've, really using the brakes up a lot more than they expected here. It's sort of a very hard circuit, just especially on these rear-wheel drive heavy, cars. There's a replay here.
That's Matty Coleman. So Nathan Pilkington, the FTO, is the guy just in front of him, the red and blue car, and it looks like it's
Dominoes, basically.
Alan Shepard and the Honda Integra also involved in that. Another replay now, another angle. And you can see that, I guess, that nose-to-tail effect that starts when they all come into a corner on turn one. Hard on the brakes, very, very close to one another. And again, Coleman gets clouded from behind by someone else.
In Matty's defence there too, it looked like a concertina effect. Looked like a couple of them had stopped further up in front of him, and he was sort of left with nowhere to go. Back aboard with Michael Brock. He barges past. Looks like Dean giving him the fight back treatment as well, Craig.
Yeah, they did plenty of this sort of stuff in race one at Adelaide as well, as it looks like Matty Coleman's out of the car. So I tell you what, not a great start to the VW weekend here at Adelaide, but great to see a new manufacturer involved in GDP.
Now, this is Polides, our race one winner, who is slipping a bit further back.
That's Brett Peters alongside in the STI.
We saw a change of position on that opening lap as well. Mark King diving right down the inside of Bob Hughes. So the defending champ trying to pick up where he left off last year.
Peters goes through.
It's a nice move under brakes there. It looked a bit ragged on the entry though, Craig.
Well, it does. The Commodore definitely suffers a lot more around this particular part of the circuit than the little cars. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes.
All right, let's go to the pits and Grant Denyer.
Well, Matthew Coleman, it's been a one shocker of a debut in these beautiful brand new Volkswagen Beetles.
It certainly has, Grant. It's been an absolutely atrocious weekend, so hopefully it's our first round for the championship and it can only get better from here on.
Mark King in the Evo 5 Lancer, and in behind him Bob Hughes in the latest evolution. It's an Evo 6, Craig.
Yeah, Mark King, we thought in the earlier race he may have lost some car speed. A turbo pipe actually popped off, so he's been able to fix that between races, and you can see the result of that now. Polides back there in fourth spot. Peter's doing very, very well in the Subaru STI, running third. Then Alexander, Gary Dean, Michael Brock and Ed Aitken in HSV 300 kilowatt car.
Back aboard with Michael Brock. You can see him running the car right up to the rev limit, Craig.
Well, definitely. You just got to try and extract everything out under brakes. This is probably the hardest corner here for brakes. Everyone's trying to get back out. And as you can see, a bit of touching going on, but no, these four-wheel drive things really rocket out of corners, and especially ones like that.
Michael Brock has raced in the Mirage series for the past 2 years, but the first time he stepped up to GDP.
One thing they do tend to advise the drivers, particularly with those Subaru WRXs, is to not bounce them off the curbs too much. The drivetrain doesn't tend to like it.
Well, it's interesting. This sort of circuit really lends for guys. There's a bit of tapping going on there.
Yeah,
Right, Aiken getting a bit sideways.
Craig Donis was the instigator of that.
Ed Aiken nice and sideways, but he's managed to gather it all up.
But definitely this circuit, really, you need to, for fast sort of line around here, as you can see, they're all jumping curbs. Need to really be having a really aggressive car, an aggressive sort of line at this circuit.
Let's have a look at the replay, and you can see that I think it was Aitken held up by Dean a little bit, so he may have jumped on the picks a bit early, and Craig Donis, the young Adelaide star, just tagged the back of Aitken's Commodore. Good to see Donis in a Commodore as well for the first time this season. Dean with plenty of bodywork hanging off the rear of the car by the look of it.
Brock is really using every inch of the track here, isn't he? There's Dean in the background, and I'll come down to the hairpin. Dean dives down the inside and has a look at... Oh, there's contact between the two of them, and Brock's gone around.
Well, that was always going to happen, wasn't it?
Lots of damage down the right-hand side of Brock's car.
They both should be in the record business. They've had more hits than Jimmy Barnes this weekend between the two of them.
So Michael Brock rejoins the field, but he's lost a stack of positions. Oh, and running wide here. Oh! Now, that car just understeered straight off. I wonder if there's some damage from that earlier crash.
Well, there might have been some damage. He's trying to go around a left-hand corner. You've got to remember, he got hit on the right-hand side of the car, so it might have damaged something there to affect him in that respect. It just definitely looked like he was straight on.
Have another look at the replay, and you can see that Brock turns in. And really, I think probably had the corner, although it's probably arguable that Dean was caught up in that. Aitken goes through.
Donis lucky to avoid all that as well. He kept the pedal right to the floor, didn't he? And charged past Ed Aiken along the way. Let's take another look at this. This is a bit further up the road.
And this is where Brock has just run absolutely straight on of his own accord, so it may well be a problem with the car.
So a costly weekend for Michael Brock was a good opening race for him, but a tough way to end the second in the season opener of the Century Batteries Australian GT Production Car Championship. Brett Peters has managed to pull out about a car length or two on Polides, who's come under siege from Alexander.
Very impressive performance from Polides. First race since 1993, won the British Formula Ford Championship, and I believe Craig Lowndes raced with you in the UK. Alan Shepherd in big problems there in the Honda Integra Type R. I'd say total engine failure by the look of the oil, the smoke and the fire.
A lot of damage to the rear of that car as well.
The replay going down the main straight, you can just see that the oil, the smoke is screaming out the back. Now it catches the light, and that'll put pay to his day. But yeah, Craig, Philip Polides raced with you in the UK?
Yes, the end of '93, we had a, I guess, great opportunity to go and race at Brands Hatch, and I remember Russell Ingles and Philip being over there, and we ended up taking out the Nations Trophy, which I didn't understand what we were doing. I didn't think I was actually part of it, but you know, it was a great feeling back then, that's for sure.
So I guess a complete new meaning to turning up the wick as far as Alan Shepherd's concerned.
The officials very quickly onto that now.
Nathan Thomas
on the fight back trail. Let's not forget that he had a tough start to this race. Something happened on the start finish line and he virtually rejoined in last position, but he's been gradually picking his way through the ranks and working up the order.
Yeah, just wrapped up Colin Osborne of the new Toyota Celica. In fact, a great time, 1:41.6, 3 seconds faster than the MR2 time set by Robson. As it looks like Osborne has another go at him under brakes. So considering the problems he had off the grid, he's doing a tremendous job.
Robson has been quick this weekend in the MR2, Craig. We should make that point.
Oh, Thomas all over Robson. Works his way to the outside. Almost lost it.
Len Cave in all sorts of dramas here in the BMW. Gets it up on the ripple strip on the exit of the final turn. And lucky not to clout the pit wall.
Yeah, had a big hit in the earlier race with Don Pulver. So Polides in the car built by Frank Lowndes and also Travis Bailey. Obviously struggling in this race, Craig, with those brake problems we talked about.
Well, definitely, as you can see there, he's running a really tight line entry into that corner. He obviously is struggling under brakes. I'm just trying to see, as you can see there, he's got the horsepower, just hasn't got the brakes.
We're on our way home in this one. And at the moment, it's Mark King that is leading the way. Doing a terrific job in the Lancer. This is what's happening a couple of positions further back. Polides playing defensive because Alexander is right there.
Alexander doing a great job. He's run GDP for the past 2 or 3 seasons, quite competitively in this Evo 5. And a long and quite successful career in Australian rallying as well.
We're going to try and do the switchback here, I think. Definitely this Evo's got the brakes, got the, I guess, the acceleration out of these tighter corners. But as you see here, exiting this one, you'll see the Evo probably try and slow at the inside, but the GDS will have the legs eventually as we get down this straight.
Good car, the GDS, turning out something like 300 kilowatts, 400 horsepower, probably a bit more in racing form. I guess you've driven one of these, Craig. Good machine.
Well, I actually haven't driven the VX, but have driven the previous cars, and yeah, they are. And no, it's something that's where this is going to be an interesting category where you've got a lot of mix of cars happening here. As you can see, Mark King just coming up for the checker flag.
Ed Aiken and Steve Knight battling away a little further back as well, but a sensational start to the defence of his title. Finished third in the opener and will take out race 2. Mark King, second position there. Bob Hughes in the Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 6. So the four-wheel drive's really dominating in this second race.
Class B battle between Ratcliffe and Sue Hughes, or probably Len Cave actually, by looking at the front of the car. Then Peters in the Subaru STI coming down.
Yeah, welcome return to racing for Brett Peters. And look at this, Polides just holding out Alexander, the drag race to the line and nothing in it.
Photo for that one.
It went the way of Polides though, only just.
This is our Class B winner, Anthony Robson, in the Toyota MR2 that probably hasn't had a race win since this time last year.
Anthony hasn't had much in the way of race miles either, but a giant killing performance from Robson and the Osborne Motorsport team in the MR2. He takes it out, winning the Poolwright Sports Touring class.
Nathan Pilkington, also a good performance, second outright in his GTP debut in the Mitsubishi FTO little V6 2.5 litre.
Well, what a great start to the 2001 championship. Mark King, the defending champion, takes out race 2 from Bob Hughes. Polides finishes in 4th, just ahead of Alexander. Look at that, the two of them separated by hundredths of a second.
Then Gary Dean, Kirkham, Floyd, Morecambe, Gazzard, David Wood in the Honda S2000, Bob Pearson and Jimmy Stewart in the Subaru STI.
Anthony Robson taking out Class B from Nathan Pilkington. Let's go trackside.
Well, Mark King crowned the champion here of race 2 around the streets of Adelaide. Well done, but probably the speed, I suppose, we should have seen in race 1 as well.
Yeah, well, that's the way it goes. You know, we had a few engine problems halfway through race 1, but we knew we'd get them back in race 2.
A nice coasting one for you. You had it over the GTS 300 kilowatt HSV.
Yeah, mate, we got killer brakes here, and I guess a good suspension package and a help from Delphi. We've got to go well.
I think you're lucky you had that bracket there, because there's a fair bit of dicing and moving and desperation going on behind you.
Well, I guess having a bit of a lead was nice too, because as you're catching lap cars, you know, you tend to get held up a bit, and if anyone's behind you, they're going to pull you in. So, yeah, it's good value.
Hoo-ha?
Hoo-ha.
Round 1 of the Century Batteries Australian GT Production Car Championship, and Mark King now leads by 1.25 to equal second on points. Bob Hughes and Phil Polides, then Brett Peters, Graham Alexander and Phil Kirkham rounding out the top 6.